Right now, Bitcoin got exactly rejected from the level we mentioned in yesterday's update video. And on today's update video, I will be exactly discuss the most important charts on Bitcoin, because right now we are creating a falling wedge pattern, which are definitely the best pattern to be trading out there in the market. And on today's update video, I'm gonna give my full breakdown on this pattern on Bitcoin, what I am exactly seeing, how we could be exactly trade this, and what historically has happened most of the times there before we see a big breakout. So I'm gonna give a big update on my trade right now. I'm gonna discuss this and so much more charts on Bitcoin. I'm gonna discuss the big rejection from off this green box of previous resistance. I'm gonna go over Ethereum. I'm gonna go over my trades and so much more here. So don't forget to once again slap all that like button back above 1,000 likes. That will be highly appreciated. And let me jump straight away in today's update video. So first of all, over the course of last weekend, we created a Bitcoin CME gap. That CME gap is now filled up here ever since we had a slight little dump towards the downside. And ultimately on yesterday's video, I discussed this level, and this level, of course, exactly got us rejected. And now we're creating somewhat of a symmetrical triangle. And ultimately, if we're looking at Bitcoin, we can just see that we're still trading in a downtrend. And yes, I do believe a Bitcoin bottom is extremely close here. But just like on many previous occasions as well here, just like, for example, in April 2025, or for example, in, September 2024, sometimes a Bitcoin bottom can be created by a Bitcoin daily bullish divergence, which was, for example, also over here. We created this lower low on the market, and then we bounced back higher. We created a bullish divergence on the RSI, and that marked the bottom. And if something similar is going to be happening this time around on Bitcoin, that is going to be a very nice strategy and a nice pattern to be trading on the market. Just purely looking at the daily time frame, we are yet again creating a falling wedge pattern on Bitcoin. And honestly, if I am looking at all the times we've traded this pattern, it has always been the best pattern to be trading. And it's also my most favorite pattern to be trading as well. For example, you saw playing out in April 2025, whenever we broke the downtrend, it marked the beginning of a big push towards the upside, and it always reaches price target of the top side of the wedge. And that is this time around $126,000, which is, if you would ask me, quite an insane target. But this is the best pattern, in my opinion, to be trading. It plays out many times before. Also, for example, over here, it played out. You see it on a smaller time frame. You create a falling wedge pattern, and Bitcoin breaks towards the upside. So that is just a very important thing to do here. And honestly, if I've been looking back at many of the falling wedges on bigger time frames I've been trading, I shouldn't necessarily be surprised that Bitcoin still can come back down towards this 96, maybe 98K region before ultimately seeing the big bounce towards the upside. So I am also very much prepared for that. I still have my orders set up around $98,000 as well. And maybe I will add even more orders around $96,000, because I am definitely very convinced that is still a possibility that could be happening. But I am not exiting my trades yet so far, because I'm very much aware we could still, of course, come down a little bit lower. But ultimately, I do think a bottom is going to come closer and closer. Also, I do want to be mentioning later today, we're going to get the US House voting on the reopening of the US government. And that is, of course, going to be absolutely critical for the market. We have already seen that many people are expecting it is going to be reopening up again here. And we can see that, for example, the S&P 500 and also the Nasdaq has been seeing a very big bounce here, while Bitcoin actually has came down ever so slightly. So there's still a big divergence between the stock market and crypto, but ultimately that gives us the opportunity to catch up later again here. Then looking at Bitcoin on the liquidation heat map, we can still see a lot of liquidity laying above us and some liquidity being built up below us around the $98,000 level, which is quite interesting, because $98,000 is also that exact level where I want to be adding on towards my trade here. So for sure, I will keep you guys up to date on what I'm exactly going to be doing with my trades here, but I am still interested if Bitcoin is going to come down ever so slightly lower to add more towards my positions, since I am clearly starting to see that we're creating somewhat of a bottoming structure on Bitcoin. And yes, the bottom may not be in yet here, but I do believe it's going to be very close there. Just like I've talked about on many previous occasions, I'm very much aware that Bitcoin can dip ever so slightly below this level right here to exactly grab out all the lower side liquidity and move back towards the upside. Or maybe the bottom is already in and we could be bouncing back towards the upside, right? So there are multiple scenarios possible, but ultimately Bitcoin is creating this big falling wedge pattern, which I ultimately do not want to be ignoring in the market right now here. Further on, I want to discuss a couple more things, and that is, of course, that Bitcoin is right now retesting one of the most important levels of support on the weekly time frame, which most likely is not easily going to be breaking. It is also retesting the 50 weekly moving average, but I do want to be warning you that we are of course seeing a massive bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, and historically, if we're looking at timings, we are at the end stage of the Bitcoin bull market. So those are the bearish things that we're currently looking at, but in my opinion, as long as we're holding towards the 50 weekly moving average, the Bitcoin bull market is still intact here. But as soon as we're going to be breaking below it, it is going to give us the confirmation the Bitcoin bear market is obviously going to be starting. But let's see how this is going to be breaking. But of course, let's see how it's going to be, of course, closing, because that is ultimately going to give us the confirmation if we're going to be breaking below it or if we're not going to be. So the weekly close is going to be absolutely critical to be watching for Bitcoin. So that is, of course, very interesting. Also, what is interesting if we're looking at on-chain data is that there is a lot of stable coins on the sideline right now. To be exact, about $10 billion on Binance, which is, of course, absolutely insane here. So there are a lot of stablecoin reserves right now here, and that is just all money that is yet to be deployed here. And if that is going to be deployed, it is going to be ultimately have a very positive effect on the market. So that is the thing I want to be warning you for. Also, if you've been watching the channel, you could have been copy trading me if you were in the VIP Telegram group, and there's still an opportunity you can do so for my next trades here. So if you want to be copy trading me, join the VIP Telegram group. Also, if you just want to be staying up to date on all my trades, what I think about the market, and also 5 other professional traders are also sharing their setups over there as well, join the VIP Telegram group using the second link in today's video description. It's very, very valuable. And on top of that, guys, I also quickly want to be mentioning that if you're just purely interested in trading, you can right now sign up an account to WeX using that first link in today's video description to get, of course, the 25% fee rebate, making this the cheapest exchange to operate from. And on top of that, guys, you can claim insane deposit bonuses, but be alert. Trading is always risky, so make sure to always do your own research before opening up a trade here. So that is, of course, important to understand. Then, looking at ETH on the 4-hourly time frame, I think that this retest is actually looking quite good here. So this is major previous resistance, now getting retested as support. I think ETH is holding up quite strong here if you compare it to Bitcoin. So yeah, I think a bounce is going to be quite likely. For my trade, I have got one of my take profit targets set up around this green box right here. That is where I will be looking in some trades here for, of course, also the trades we opened up as a team on the copy trading. That is also where I will be just taking some profits off the table. I have, of course, already set up the orders for everyone who is out there copy trading me. But that's, of course, something very nice there. So further on, looking at ETH, I do believe we're once again coming back towards somewhat of a fair value range of accumulation on ETH here, which is the golden pocket on the Fibonacci. This is the level I've talked about so many times here, but I am definitely willing to accumulate ETH around this range. You can see also over here, this is exactly the liquidity zone. And this is, of course, exactly where I am personally looking to be buying. This is a major level of previous resistance. Now I'm expecting this level is going to be flipping into support. So ETH, not looking all too bad here. Ultimately, we got rejected from the highs here. But yeah, we are still somewhat in an uptrend here compared to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has got a very similar structure, but just looks a little bit weaker. But ultimately, these pairs will just move in a very similar pace and in a very similar direction. If Bitcoin is going to go up, Ethereum is ultimately going to be following. So that was it for me in today's update video. If you did enjoy it, like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.